She announced at dinner, "I've been cheating. I'm in love with someone else." I said, "I know." I'd already secured every asset, moved our savings, and closed the joint account. A year later, she emailed me asking for money, and I finally gave her what she earned. Silence that we'd been together for 7 years, married for 3. If you'd asked anyone who knew us, they would have said we were solid. Maybe a little dull, maybe too mature, but stable. I used to like that word. Stable. It sounded safe. Predictable. Her name is Hannah, 34. Graphic designer. Quick wit, restless energy. I'm Daniel, 36. Systems analyst for a logistics firm. Not the most exciting career, but it paid well and came with the one thing I valued most, structure. That's probably what drew her in at first. I was the calm one, the one who remembered the bills, backed up the files, fixed the router. And, ironically, the same thing that made her feel secure was what she'd later describe as boring. Looking back, I think I started noticing cracks a few months before she confessed. It wasn't anything obvious. No lipstick on collars or suspicious texts. Just little things. Her phone, always face down. The way she started saying, "I'll grab dinner on the way home," instead of "Want me to bring something?" The occasional, almost imperceptible contempt when I talk about work. She once said, "You always talk like you're solving puzzles. Don't you ever just feel things?" I remember answering, "Feeling things doesn't fix them." She laughed then, but there was an edge to it. The real turning point came on a random Tuesday in April. I'd come home early from a client visit, around 4:30 p.m. I didn't text ahead, figured I'd surprise her with coffee from her favorite place. Her car was in the driveway. I walked in quietly, not sneaking, just not expecting to announce myself. And I heard her voice from the bedroom. Not just her voice. Another man's. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even explicit. Just the sound of two people whispering too close. I froze in the hallway. Then I turned around, walked back out, got in my car, and drove to a park a few blocks away. I sat there for a long time, staring at the coffee cups. I didn't go back until after dark. When I came home, everything was normal. The lights, the smell of dinner, her casual, "Hey, babe, how was your day?" I smiled, kissed her on the head, and said, "Good." That night, she fell asleep next to me. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake. The next morning, I went to work as usual, except I wasn't working. I spent the entire day locking things down. We had a joint checking account and a shared savings account, both under my management, since I handled finances, her choice. I didn't drain them outright. That would have raised flags. Instead, I transferred a few thousand each day into a new personal account I opened that morning. Quietly. Technically, it was legal. I was listed as primary on both. Next, I updated passwords, utilities, mortgage, credit cards. Changed the billing address on all of them to my work P.O. box. Then I called a lawyer, an old friend from university who handled family law. Told him everything I'd seen and what I suspected. He said, "Start documenting everything. Don't confront her until you're protected." So I did. I installed a small Wi-Fi camera in my office, facing the door to our bedroom, discreetly disguised as a smoke detector. I backed up her messages from our iPad, which was synced to her phone. That's when I saw it. A text thread labeled M, short for Matt. I scrolled through weeks of messages. Flirting, complaints about me, plans for the future. He worked with her, some marketing consultant who thought wearing vintage denim made him different. There was one message that stood out. "He's too logical. I need someone who makes me feel alive." I sat there staring at it until my hands stopped shaking. Over the next few days, I played my role perfectly. Smiled, cooked dinner, asked about her day. She was relaxed, almost glowing. And that told me everything I needed to know. She thought she was getting away with it. I spent the week preparing. Talked to my lawyer. Collected financial documents. Made copies of everything. Marriage certificate, title to the house, proof of income. Even downloaded chat logs to a USB drive, timestamped, just in case. By Friday, everything was ready. That weekend, she told me she wanted to go out with friends. I said sure. Then checked the GPS tracker on our car, part of our insurance system. She wasn't with friends. She was at a hotel 20 minutes away. I screenshotted it, saved it to the folder labeled for the attorney. That night, I poured myself a whiskey, sat on the porch, and let it sink in. 7 years together, and this was how it ended. But instead of rage, I felt something colder. Like all emotion had drained out of me, and left behind only precision. 3 days later, she suggested dinner to talk. We went to a small Italian place near downtown. Her choice. She looked nervous, but also rehearsed. Halfway through the meal, she put down her fork and said, "I've been cheating. I'm in love with someone else." I looked at her for a long second, then said quietly, "I know." The way her face froze. Shock, confusion, fear. It was almost cinematic. I didn't make a scene. I didn't accuse. I just added, "You should probably check your bank balance when you get home." She blinked at me like I'd spoken another language. "What do you mean?" she asked, voice already trembling. I took a sip of water, looked her in the eyes, and said calmly, "I've known for about a week. Maybe a little more. I didn't confront you because I needed to make sure you didn't take anything that wasn't yours." Her fork clattered onto the plate. A few heads turned. She lowered her voice. "What are you talking about?" I leaned in slightly. "I moved my portion of the savings, locked the mortgage and utilities, and notified the joint creditors that I'll be the only one making payments moving forward. Also," I paused, "I backed up your messages with Matt. My lawyer has copies." She stared at me, pale, frozen. I could practically hear her brain struggling to catch up. Finally, she whispered, "You went through my phone?" I smiled faintly. "The iPad. You forgot it syncs automatically." She looked down, breathing shallow. I think that's when she realized I wasn't bluffing. Everything she thought she controlled had already been taken out of her hands, quietly, surgically. The rest of dinner was a blur of silence and tension so thick you could feel it pulse between us. I paid the check because I wanted the receipt and stood up. Before leaving, I said, "You can stay at the house for now. I'll be moving out by the weekend. But you'll need to cover your expenses from this point forward. My money isn't funding your affair." She didn't say a word. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed at my brother's apartment. Around midnight, my phone started lighting up, her texts coming in one after another. "What did you do? You can't just take everything. Please call me." I didn't answer. The next morning, my lawyer emailed me confirming that all transfers and documentation were in place. I'd secured my portion of the assets, legally, transparently, cleanly. Around noon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was him. "Hey man," the voice said, a little too casual, trying to sound confident. "I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding between you and Hannah. Maybe we could talk this out." I almost laughed. "I don't think there's anything to talk about," I said. She made her decision. I made mine. He hesitated. "She's really upset. Says you froze her accounts." "Not hers," I corrected. "Ours. Big difference." There was silence on the other end. Then a week, right? Okay. Click. 2 days later, Hannah showed up at my brother's apartment. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. No makeup, just raw panic. She started crying the moment I opened the door. "You can't just cut me off like that. I have bills, I have rent." I interrupted softly. "You have a boyfriend." She froze, staring at me, searching for any sign of softness. There wasn't any. "Let him help you," I said. "He can't." She snapped before realizing what she'd said. Then quieter, He's got his own things right now." That told me everything I needed to know. Over the next week, the facade fell apart fast. Turns out Matt wasn't the successful consultant she'd made him out to be. He was freelancing, barely scraping by, the kind of guy who looks rich online because he's drowning in credit card debt. When Hannah lost access to our joint funds, she expected him to step up. He didn't. A friend of hers, the one who'd always been overly involved in our relationship, texted me a week later. "I think you broke her, Daniel. She's been crying nonstop. Matt told her she needs to focus on herself and take a break." In other words, he dumped her. I didn't celebrate. No gloating. No revenge playlist. No "I told you so." I just felt finished. Because when someone betrays you, and you handle it with calm precision instead of chaos, it changes you. You stop needing to win. You just want it done. A month later, we met for the last time to sign paperwork and close the final joint account. She showed up looking smaller somehow. Not physically, just deflated. "I can't believe you did all that behind my back," she said. I looked up from the papers. "You mean, like how you did everything behind mine?" She didn't respond, just nodded, eyes wet. Before she left, she said quietly, "I never thought you'd be capable of this." I smiled faintly. "You never really knew me." After that, silence. No contact. Our divorce was straightforward. She didn't contest anything. She couldn't. My lawyer made sure of it. By July, everything was finalized. No shared property, no joint debt, clean cut. But life has a dark sense of irony. A few months later, one of her old co-workers, someone who always liked to gossip, told me that Hannah had tried to move in with Matt after I left, and he said no. Apparently, when she asked him to help with rent, his exact words were, "I'm not your husband." That line stuck with me for days. Because that's what she'd traded stability for, the idea of excitement, with someone who disappeared the moment things got real. I didn't feel triumphant, just free. There's a strange peace in watching someone try to burn you down and realizing you'd already built your fireproof walls. Update 1, that it's been half a year since the night she confessed. 6 months since that quiet dinner where she said, "I've been cheating. I'm in love with someone else." And I said, "I know." 6 months since I walked away with everything that was mine and left her to live with the choices she'd made. And honestly, I didn't think about her much after that. Not because I was pretending to be strong, but because there was finally nothing left to think about. No more second guessing, no more what ifs. Just space. After the divorce, I moved to a new apartment, smaller, quieter, near the river. I started running in the mornings, something I hadn't done since my 20s. I reconnected with old friends I drifted away from during the marriage. Turns out, people actually missed me. Work was good, too. I got a raise, took on more responsibility, and even started helping with cybersecurity training programs for smaller companies. It felt like rebuilding, not revenge. Just life coming back online. For the first time in years, I was sleeping well. Then, 3 months ago, Hannah texted me. The number was still in my phone, though I'd muted it long ago. Her message just said, "I'm sorry." That's it. 2 words. I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, another message. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I've lost everything. The job, the apartment, him." Again, I didn't answer. Not because I was angry, because there was nothing I could say that would matter. Later, I found out through mutual acquaintances that after Matt dumped her, she'd tried to start over. But her reputation at work had taken a hit. Apparently, people found out about the affair. Office gossip moves fast, and she ended up leaving her job. She moved into a cheaper place outside the city. Took freelance design gigs, nothing stable. One friend told me she'd sold her car and was trying to find herself. I didn't feel pity or satisfaction, just a dull kind of sadness. Not for her, for the waste of it all. About a month after that second message, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was her mother. We hadn't spoken in years. She always liked me, though, said I brought calm into Hannah's chaos. She sounded tired. "Daniel, I'm sorry to bother you," she said. "I just wanted to let you know Hannah's been having a really hard time. She's not doing great." I stayed silent. Then she added, "She told me what happened. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for the way she hurt you." I thanked her, told her I appreciated it. Before hanging up, she said softly, "You were always good to her. Maybe too good." That line stuck with me. A week later, another message from Hannah. This time longer. "You don't have to reply. I just want you to know I understand now. You were never cold. You were just steady." I confused peace with boredom. I thought chaos meant love. It doesn't. I stared at that message for a while. Not because I felt anything romantic. That part of me was gone. But because it was the first time she'd actually taken responsibility for her actions without trying to twist it. Still, I didn't reply. Closure doesn't always mean communication. Sometimes, it's silence that says everything. A few days after that, I ran into Matt. Yeah, that Matt. It was at a downtown coffee shop. I almost didn't recognize him at first. He looked rough. Unshaven, thinner, jittery. He saw me, froze, then forced a smile. "Hey man," he said awkwardly. I nodded. "Matt." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, I know I'm probably the last person you want to see. But I just wanted to say I didn't know how bad it would get. With her, I mean." I said nothing. Just looked at him. He kept talking. "She told me you'd never find out. Said you were too nice, too distracted. Guess she was wrong." I finally said, "She was wrong about a lot of things." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, guess we both were." And then he walked out. That was it. No shouting. No drama. Just two people standing in the ruins of something one of them helped destroy. It's strange. People think revenge is about payback, about watching someone suffer the way they made you suffer. But I learned that real revenge isn't about destruction. It's about distance. It's about being so far beyond their reach that their chaos can't even touch your peace anymore. It's been 6 months. I'm not angry. I don't even hate her. She's a cautionary tale now, not a scar. I still have the USB drive with her messages saved somewhere in a locked drawer. Not out of spite, just proof, a reminder of how quietly things can break. Sometimes I think about deleting it. Then I think, maybe it's worth keeping, not as evidence, but as closure. Final update that it's been a full year now. 12 months since that dinner where Hannah announced her affair like a confession at a church altar. 12 months since I told her I already knew, and watched the color drain from her face when she realized every safety net she'd been standing on was gone. A year later, I'm still standing. Stronger, calmer, but different. Life has moved on in quiet, deliberate ways. I got promoted again, head of cybersecurity for our division. More responsibility, more travel, and for the first time in a while, genuine satisfaction in what I do. I bought a small townhouse near the river. It's minimalist, peaceful, and fully mine. I also started dating someone new, Julia. She's a civil engineer, funny in a dry way, the kind of person who listens before speaking. We met at a professional conference in the spring. No drama, no games, just a natural connection. When I told her about my divorce, the truth, not the dramatized version, she didn't flinch. She just said, "You handled it like someone who knew his worth." And for the first time, I believed that. I hadn't heard from Hannah in months, and honestly, I assumed that chapter was fully closed. Then, 2 weeks ago, I got an email from her. Subject line: "Please, just read this." The message was long. It took me several minutes to get through. She said she'd moved back in with her parents after losing her apartment. She'd burned bridges at work and was trying to freelance again. Money was tight. She mentioned therapy, guilt, regret, all the usual post-fallout phrases. Then came the real reason for the email. "I know I have no right to ask this, but could you lend me a little money? Just to cover rent and bills for a couple of months. I'll pay you back, I promise." I sat there, rereading it over and over. Not out of anger, but out of disbelief at how full circle it all felt. The woman who'd once told me I was too safe, too stable, not passionate enough, now wanted the stability she'd thrown away. I didn't respond right away. I slept on it. Thought about what my lawyer would say, what my friends would say, what past me would have done. The next morning, I wrote her back. Short, simple. "Hannah, I truly hope you find your footing again, but I can't be that support for you anymore. Take care of yourself." And I hit send. That was it. A few days later, a mutual friend texted me. "I saw Hannah last night. She mentioned you told her no." She cried, but she said she understood. Said she doesn't blame you. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't even feel proud. Just done. Because the thing about closure is, you think it's a moment, a big, emotional climax where everything finally makes sense. But it's not. It's a quiet choice you make again and again, every time the past knocks on your door and you decide not to open it. Now, I see her sometimes in small ways, a suggested post on social media, a tagged photo from a mutual friend's wedding. In one recent picture, she's thinner, hair shorter, smile a little off. She's standing alone near the edge of a group shot. When I saw it, I didn't feel anger or pity or nostalgia. I just felt distance. That's when I knew I'd really healed. One night last week, Julia and I were out to dinner. She asked what I'd learned from everything that happened. I thought about it for a while, then said, "That love without respect turns into resentment. That trust without boundaries turns into control. And that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say to someone who hurt you is nothing at all." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. No words, just understanding. And that moment, quiet, steady, ordinary, meant more to me than any revenge could. If there's one thing I've taken from all this, it's that peace isn't a prize you win for surviving betrayal. It's something you build, day by day, once the noise fades and the performance ends. And when the person who once broke you comes back asking for help, you'll realize you don't hate them anymore. You just don't care the way you used to. That's freedom. That's closure. Final reflection, for Reddit-style authenticity. I didn't write this for sympathy or applause. I wrote it because a year ago, I thought losing her was the worst thing that could happen to me. Now I see it was the best thing that ever could have happened, because it forced me to stop living in someone else's illusion and start living in my own reality. Sometimes the universe doesn't punish people. It just lets them live with themselves. And that's enough.